Another method in getting the cross product is using the distributive property of multiplication. And so we have here another set of examples. Vector A, that's negative 5i hat plus 3j hat. And then vector B, that's 3i hat plus 2j hat plus k hat. Or we have there an invisible value of 1. All right. Now, we are going to get the cross product, say that is vector C, and so the cross product of vector A and then vector B. And so that is using the distributive property of multiplication. But before we go to that, and so let's have a review first. And so say for example you have here I hat, j hat, and then k hat. And so we have this loop. And so we follow this loop, no? And so it's so it's clockwise, I to j, j to k, and then k to I. Right? So that means that, for example, if you're going to multiply, or the product of two consecutive vectors, or the product of two consecutive unit vectors is equal to the third, or to the next unit vector. Say for example, I hat times j hat, that is equal to k hat. At the same time, j hat times k hat is equal to I hat. Or lastly, you have there k hat times I hat, that will give us j hat. Okay? Now, if we go to the opposite way, that will give us the negative sign. Take note that cross product is non-commutative, therefore we cannot interchange this. So what does that mean? For example, k hat times j hat, that will give us negative I hat. Okay, it's going the opposite way. Another, it's like having j hat times I hat is equal to negative k hat. And we also have there I hat times k hat is equal to negative j hat. Right? Now, another point that we have to consider is that, for example, you have there negative j and negative j hat times I hat. So negative j hat times I hat, that is now equal to k hat, or positive k hat, right? Take note that j hat, it's like j hat times I hat, that is negative, right? Times the negative in negative j, that will be equal to positive. Okay? Or another, say for example, I hat times negative k hat. And so I hat times negative k hat, that will now be equal to positive j hat. Okay, so I hat times k hat is negative, times the negative in k, that will give us positive. Another, or lastly, if you have there I hat times I hat, that is simply equal to 0. Or if you have j hat times negative j hat, that is still equal to 0. Alright? Now, what do we do in distributive property of multiplication? And so in this example, we have there vector C is equal to, we simply multiply vector A, sige, sulat ko muna, vector A cross vector B, or that is now equal to, and so negative 5 I hat plus 3 j hat times, and so 3 I hat plus 2j hat plus k hat, or 1k hat. Right? And so first, and distributive property, ganito siya. And so first term times first term. And so we have there negative 5 times 3 times I hat times, and so times I hat. Alright? That's the first term. Next, ito naman. And so there, plus, you have there negative 5 times 2 times I hat. Sorry. Let me remove that. And so times I hat times j hat. plus, next you have there, dito naman, negative 5 times 1 times I hat times k hat. Right? Then next, so dito naman tayo sa second term. We have there 3 times 3 times I hat times I hat. And then next, dito naman, as a plus 3 times 2 times j hat. Let me remove that. J hat times j hat. And lastly, you have there 3, so, but equals yun. Ayan. Plus 3 times, 3 times 1 times j hat times k hat. Okay? Now, let's simplify. And so, tanggalin muna natin yung, as I'll use another color. And so, tanggalin muna natin yung, ito, I hat, j hat, j hat. And so, this is equal to 0. Magiging 0 yan. Kasi j hat times j hat is 0. Also, this one, 0 din yon. Okay? Now, how about this one? I hat times j hat, this is, or this will now become k hat. I hat times k hat is equal to, ito, negative j hat. And then, ito naman, 3 times 3, that's, j dapat to, no? Sorry. J. Ayan, j hat times I hat, that is now equal to negative k hat. And then, j hat times k hat is I hat. Okay? Now, simplify. Back to blue. And so, simplify. That's the first term is 0. Negative 5 times 2. That is... Oh, sorry. That should be negative 2. Oh, positive. So, sorry. Yeah. We have there negative 10 and negative 10 k hat plus we have there negative 5 j hat, or sorry, ulit second term, third term rather, and so negative 5 times negative j, so that will be equal to positive 5 j hat. And then next we have there plus 3 times 3, 9 times, sige, so 9 times negative k hat, then plus 3 I hat. Okay, simplify, or let me just rewrite that, negative 10 k hat plus 5 j hat minus 9 k hat plus 3 I hat. Okay, simplify like terms and then arrange alphabetically. And so we have there 3 I hat minus, plus 5 j hat minus 19 k hat. Okay, and so there, that is now our vector C. There. The thing about distributive property is that it's quite lengthy. And so, dito sa example natin, we have, hindi pa kompleto yung first na vector, di ba? We have just 5 I hat and then 3 j hat. And so, what if we have complete set of unit vectors? This would be longer. Alright? But anyway, and so there, we arrive with the same answer. This is just for you to show how our supplementary example and how to do the distributive property of multiplication in unit vectors.